The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In CMHC's mandate, they say they, quote, help Canadians in housing need by improving access to affordable housing. I'm concerned that this isn't currently the reality across the country, and I'm not the only one. From her 2022 report on chronic homelessness, the Auditor General found that, quote, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation did not know whether it was addressing the housing needs of and improving housing outcomes for vulnerable Canadians. This deeply concerns me because in my community, home prices and rents have skyrocketed, while homelessness has more than tripled since 2018. No wonder the National Housing Advocate recently shared that the National Housing Strategy is failing. I have several questions and suggestions for the Minister of Housing to push for CMHC and the federal government to get closer to meeting its mandate. First, we know that real estate investment trusts, or REITs, one of Canada's largest corporate landlords, contribute to worsening the housing crisis by buying up existing units and raising rents as they seek to maximize their profitability. Oddly, CMHC has recently loaned $60 million to Choice REIT, one of Canada's largest REITs, who made over $744 million in net profits last year. This is just one of 4 such agreements with REITs. My question, will the minister ensure our National Housing Agency, with a mandate for improving housing affordability, stops loaning public funds to for-profit corporate landlords at a time when funds are being reduced for non-profit housing providers?
The honourable minister.
So I welcome the honourable member's questions and prioritization of housing and action against homelessness. What I can assure him is that our government prioritizes funding to support organizations supporting those who are experiencing homelessness on the ground. We've doubled that funding, in fact, Madam Chair.
Honourable member.
Well, another option that the minister can consider is that one untapped source of significant revenue to expand affordable housing across the country is to remove corporate tax exemptions for real estate investment trusts. The Parliamentary Budget Officer estimates this could generate at least $285 million in government revenue over the next 5 years. And this is what could be used to supplement funds for the affordable housing we need. And so my question for the minister is, does he believe that removing REIT's tax exemption and directing these revenues to affordable housing would help to address Canada's current housing crisis?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Answer a couple of my colleagues' questions around speculation of the market, and we agree. And we have engaged in doing a reform on the investments in residential estate, and I think there's a lot more work to be done. But I think you'll recognize that we are moving forward with legislation that supports the right to home, supports working on breaking the speculation of the market, but we agree that there's more to be done.
The honourable member.
The 2022 Auditor General's report on chronic homelessness recently called for a definition of affordable housing to be consistent across CMHC's programs. For example, the National Housing Strategy, in that affordable rent is calculated as less than 30% of before-tax income. But under the National Housing Co-Investment Fund, affordable rent is based on rent being less than 80% of market rent. And what that means is that rental housing funds can be sent to folks who are not necessarily in low income, or will not be going to the most low income households. And so my question to the minister is, will he ensure that CMHC uses one consistent definition and put an end to this use of the 80% market rate definition?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Chair, I do appreciate the questions. I just want to clarify a few things, and I think there's some inaccuracies in some of the assertions made. In the rental construction financing initiative, for the over 190 projects funded by CMHC, only 4 are connected or are, in fact, real estate investment trusts. That means that these projects are really increasing supply, and they also have to meet the affordability criteria that is imposed on them to access federal dollars, as well as making their units accessible and energy efficient. And in terms of deeply affordable housing, I would point the honourable member to the significant investments that we have made and continue to make in deeply affordable housing, whether it's the Rapid Housing Initiative or the Co-Investment Fund, which delivers an average of $700 in monthly rental payments for tenants living in those units across the country.
Honourable Member.
Just to follow up on the question, will the minister commit to a consistent definition for affordable housing across all of CMHC's programs?
The Honourable Minister.
Every Canadian has a right to an affordable place to call home. The housing needs and economic circumstances of Canadians varies widely. That's why the National Housing Strategy has different programs for different people.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. The Honourable Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To increase affordable housing supply, one last idea for the minister. Advocates like Acorn Canada have called for a dedicated acquisition fund to enable nonprofits, co-ops, and land trust organizations to buy at-risk rental buildings when they come on the market, preventing them from being bought by for-profit corporate landlords. Will the minister listen to these advocates and implement a dedicated acquisition fund?
The Honourable Minister has 32 seconds to respond.
I have news for the honourable member. The Housing Accelerator Fund will enable local governments to do exactly that. Use some of the proceeds and incentive amounts of money through the Housing Accelerator Fund to actually buy land and build more affordable housing.
There's 11 seconds left.
I certainly just hope that the Housing Accelerator Fund matches what the acquisition fund that Acorn and others are being called for. And I just want to say thank you to the minister and team for...
I'm sorry, there's no more time left, and